Christian success is way different than worldly success. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. We got to talk about success, right? That's the whole point of this series, the recipe for success. But what is the actual definition? What's the paradigm in your mind when you think of success that you have? And how close or far from that is it from what God says actual success is? The best way to do that is just to define it. But before we look at the biblical definition of success, you are the definition of support. Thank you for watching. The only reason why we're doing this is so that you can be encouraged. And so by all means, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and at least pass this on at least one person who you know will be encouraged to know what we're studying. We're on the road here in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Why not come to your church? In order to do that, our contact information is down below in the description. So send us an email. And so for now, let's look at the word. Because it's here in Joshua chapter 1, verse 7. Let's build some principles of success. The Bible says in verse 7, only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law, which Moses, my servant, commanded. He goes on to say, turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. A biblical principle for success. And it's being on point with, not being to the left of God, not being to the right with, but being in. That is how we get on point. Did you know, we live in a world of right and left, right? People want to use these terms, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, black, and all of these terms to separate us and to weaken our. You know, we looked at that in the last study. Make sure you check that out. How we don't fight to lose, we fight the fight of faith, and it's to. But with that said, knowing that we don't have to worry about being on any side when we're standing in God, that is what God terms to be success. When you are in Him and in alignment with His will, heaven's throwing a thumbs up, big smile, because the only way to be in line with God is to be in love with Him. And He loves that. It's why I like this next principle. The next principle down here in Genesis chapter 24 and verse number 40. Genesis chapter 24 and verse number 40 says it this way. And he said unto me, the Lord, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife for my son of my kindred and of my father's house. Now, this is like a throw off. Like, wait, we're going way back to the story of Isaac. And Isaac himself doesn't go find his wife, but Abraham's servant goes to find a wife for Isaac. And look at this point of success. It's letting God make the big decision because He's already making the little. See, allowing God to be the one who says, you know what? Rather than you coming to me and bringing a wife to me and says, is this what you would have? Is this who you would have for me as a husband? He says, how about we let God make the decisions? That's a sign of success. This one is here in Isaiah chapter 53 and verse number 10. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. This is a biblical description of success. Now, I say biblical because in a worldly point of view, how could losing so much, even to the point of losing one's life, be considered a success? In fact, the whole point of success is to make it in this life, not to give it away. The world will say you're throwing it away, but that's not what Jesus did. In this example, we're seeing the biblical principle of success, and it starts with putting others before. It starts with being willing to say to God, not how much can I make, how much can I give? Not how much or who can I, but instead, who can I help someone else to become? That's what you're able to do every day when you have a servant mind. Whether you're a teacher, whether you own your own business, or whether you're in school, When you do what you do with the principle of others before myself, man, God has promised that I'm going to prosper that in such a beautiful way because I'm able to bless beyond you. I'm able to bless through you to many others. I would even say countless others, because when you have this kind of mind, you won't know the number of people whose lives that you touch. In fact, you won't be able to count how many people's lives you've touched until you get to heaven and you can count their crown. Because on everyone's crown, there will be stars of those that they've impacted. And because of that impact, they're in the city. They're in the promise. It was a recipe of success for Israel yesterday. And by the grace of God, I hope that these principles are a recipe for us. And by the grace of God, I pray that we see the value of these principles even today.